Howdy, and welcome to day 4 of the Wellness Bootcamp for quarantine, or while we're sheltering in place. Or if you're doing an essential job and you're sticking this in the middle, I hope will help you stay motivated and well as well, no matter what situation you are during this crazy time. Okay, so Peter's video really focused on getting to know the respiratory system, like the mechanics and the anatomy and the physiology of, not so much physiology today, although some, but the anatomy.
Pushing it a little bit. We just talk about breathing.
Right. Well, the anatomy of it with, as far as like, you need to get to know your anatomy and get it freed up. So not necessarily like physiologically how you're supporting it,
right?
But how you're
physical posture, right. Your shape. I mean, how much tension are you holding? And that ties to stress, right? And we'll talk more about stress as we go along. I think tomorrow we're going to be
stress away.
Focus on stress away. But so tension, but then posture creates tension. So what are we doing with our bodies all day long?
My phone.
Yeah, the phone is a big thing. I see people with everything crunched down and they can't breathe, and your neck's down. Yeah, no good.
Okay, so that's what his video was about. Just the full body breathing. We've got a video on that in the blog post from the While Wellness program. A couple of other videos I made note of. The exhale first. We've got a whole playlist on the breathing exercises.
There's a lot of things you can play with breathing, and I focus a lot more on body position, body posture, stretching, thing like that. There's a lot of different breathing systems out there. I'm not gonna tell you not to see the other stuff too. There's all kinds of different ways to breathe and all the rest of that stuff. So getting to know breathing, the part that I offer is something I just don't see a lot out there. I don't see people talking about this kind of connection. So that's why I bring this up. I know there's lots of breathing systems out there, but I don't hear people talking much about breath volume and how important the posture and structure is to the volume. So that's where massage comes in.
Okay, so our Young Living oil from the Premium Starter Kit is Raven for today.
And there's a correction. There is no Raven Sara in Raven. It used to have Raven Sara. That oil has become hard to get. It's a supply issue. So it got replaced in the blend with camphor and lemon. So there is camphor and lemon, which I read that off on that label, but I said there was Raven Sara. There's no Raven Sara in Raven.
Yeah. But it still smells really great.
It still smells awesome.
So the Peter talked about using it to enhance massage. And so I thought we'd just build on that a little bit. So I'm going to demo how to do a warm compress with that. So I typically, the way I do this for myself is I just put the oil on. So I put about 4 drops.
I was going to say before we start, but you already started. Equipment is a washcloth, a dry hand towel, some warm water, and some diluting.
Do it over
some diluting oil.
Do it over this, by the sink or whatever. Yeah. But since we're right here, we don't have the sink.
Right.
Okay, so then I'm going to dilute it before I put water on there. I mean, if you're really hardcore and you're experienced, you might choose to do it without the diluting, but I go ahead and dilute it when I'm doing, and definitely when I'm working with kids. We'll talk about, so I've got the V6 oil. You can use any kind of diluting oil, doesn't matter. So I just did a little bit, and I'm going to rub it on here, cover up the essential oil. So, I like to do it that way. I like to have the oil go on topically and get that experience, and then I go ahead and dilute it afterward. But you could dilute it in your hand, and I'll show you how to do that as well.
Okay, wet, warm washcloth wrung out so that it's not too drippy, but still wet enough to use the water to push the oil into the tissue. And then the dry towel over top.
And I'll hold it.
And then, I mean, normally this would be done laying down. Yeah. You could do this laying down on the table, relaxing, with less clothes on, so that you're not getting your clothes wet. But,
it's very relaxing.
It's very relaxing, and you can the water, the wet, pushes the oil in. So if you want to get that oil deeply into tissue, use a wet, what we call a compress, wet compress, and it's just again essential oil, diluted or not. Doesn't have to be diluted. You can just put essential oil.
I always have diluting oil on hand just in
case, because
when
you put that wet towel on there, you're going to find out how much it activates. It seems to activate the effects of the oil, the essential oil, because the essential oil is fat soluble. It's going away from the water. It's not. It's the water is actually pushing the essential oil into the tissue. So you might have no problem putting an essential oil on topically until you put that wet washcloth on there, and then you're like, ooh, ow, wow, that's really, all of a sudden it's
I can just feel as we're sitting here, like, just, each kind of successive layer, and I just feel it relaxing. It's just really a nice experience. So, and I wanted to say, we don't use it super hot. We just do it warm, like out of the tap. Do not microwave the hot wet towel or anything. Don't use anything kind of microwave, because you can get hot spots and put it on when you put it on the body, like, wow.
And the other thing is, I'm going to pick on this, but if your detergent that you've washed your towels with has fragrance in it, chemicals in it,
fabric softener,
it has to be as natural as possible. Even if it's just free and clear, some brand free and clear. Because now these chemicals that are on here in contact with the essential oil and the vegetable oil, they'll push into the tissue, and you can get a really bad reaction. And people will say, oh, I tried that hot wet compress and it gave me a really bad reaction, and it turns out that it was the towel. And
so when we teach classes how to do this, we provide the towels. So that we don't have any incidences in the class.
We stopped having any incidences in class when we provided the towels, and we could be sure that the towels weren't tainted. And so you start to realize how bad that stuff really is. Now, we're sensitive, so we got rid of that stuff a long time ago. But some people who are not as sensitive, they get sensitive when you start adding the oils, the essential oils, activating the chemical, the impact of the chemical, the body responding that way. So it's just an issue that you want to avoid. And so best if you just get rid of the synthetic fragrance and the fabric softener altogether out of your life, especially since we're trying to help the respiratory system anyway, and all that stuff is not good for the respiratory system, much less the hormone system either.
So you can see,
a little bit of redness.
A little bit red.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of redness there. Not too
it's
bad.
Mostly from the warm. Is what it feels like.
And that's what I was going to say. That can happen just from being warm.
Well, let me just show you how I dilute on the fly, because you can mix up a massage oil, but this is real life in the Minky house. This is how I dilute for my kids. I just 1, 2, 3 maybe drops, depending on the size of the kid. But all of our kids are 7 and over right now. So we don't have any littles. So I'm just squirting in there about a nickel to quarter size amount of oil, vegetable oil. And then I do it with my finger.
So that is now diluted.
Now it's diluted. And then I can just rub it on. So I'll rub it on my kid's chest, on their back. I've even done hot compresses.
No, you don't have to dilute. You don't have to dilute. You could just put the straight oil on.
But it is much easier to massage when you're
much easier to massage, and you're going to have a lot less risk of irritation, especially if you're putting it on a child. And the chest does tend to be a little bit more sensitive skin, around this area.
Massage.
So yeah.
This feels good with a massage oil. See, we live with massage therapists. And
you think I would get a massage more often? She gets massage all the time.
All the time, huh?
All the time, every day.
So, how much for kids? Actually, for under 3, I probably would not use Raven.
It has wintergreen and eucalyptus, and not the eucalyptus isn't the problem. It's the wintergreen.
Yeah, I just don't for my under 3.
Even with it, I would, if that was what I had.
Right.
And if that's all I had, and my kid had problems, and I needed to use something.
Ones for my kids are my littles. When we had littles, our favorite was Myrtle, and then when we got Laurus nobilis, which most of our kids were little, we didn't have. Those are my 2 favorite ones for using with kids.
Frankincense is a great one. It's very gentle. It's excellent for the respiratory system. I've used that for in the case of situation with kids.
Also from littles, like we've used in our babies. All 5 of our babies we used oils on, and when they're little, like under 6 months, we would do like a half of a drop. So we put a drop in the hand,
So half a drop, I mean, I'll put one, oops, 2 drops came out. It doesn't matter because it's still in my hand. Don't ever drip an oil bottle over the baby and thinking you're going to get a half a drop out, because half a drop doesn't come out. I'm just telling you from experience.
These are like,
Yeah. So I've got a couple drops in
Real
my
life.
hand, but it doesn't matter because it's in my hand. Now, if I want to get a half a drop, I just dip my finger in there, and that's about half a drop. And then I paint that on the spine, typically. If I'm trying to get the respiratory system and I don't want it anywhere near their face, again, the respiratory system is front and back.
Yeah.
So I'll just do over the ribs on the back, and get that rubbed over, and maybe even put a warm wet washcloth on there as a compress.
Yeah, typically I would dilute it.
But to get the respiratory system opened up, and do the little massage, because if we're trying to
But-
get a improvement to the breathing and we need it to happen now,
But
then
diluted or not diluted, it's the amount of oil that is the issue with a baby. It's
dose.
so
It's dose.
I dilute
not
it in my
dilution.
hand so that I know how much oil is going on there. So again, if I want a half drop, I put a drop in my hand. I can dilute it, put it, squirt in there, and then I'm gonna do half of that on my finger and paint that on my baby.
Yeah.
Did that for all 5 of my babies, but
So
I don't want to. I usually didn't make up a massage oil because I wanted to know how much I was putting on my baby.
Yeah. So it's dosage that matters, not dilution.
And we talk about this, fully in our Wellness with Essential Oils DVD series, or it's a 2-volume set. And
there's a lot of information on
it's
that.
Packed.
It's packed. So we want to get hold of that.
Okay. Let's see. Our skills were deep breathing, massage, conscious breath. We also have the Better Back Rub class. Lots of different resources for you. Our main, our focus for the wellness strategy, really, we ended up talking about the entire wellness strategy. So again, like yesterday's was the entire wellness strategy for the immune system, that you have to have all 3 parts. Same thing for the respiratory system. Stop the poison. We can do all this good stuff, but if we're still got, irritants coming in all the time.
Creating inflammation,
Right.
creating congestion, because the inflammatory process is responding to a chemical that you're breathing in. That's not good.
Right. So we have to do all. We have to do stop the poison, flood the body with nutrients. We took more of a physical thing where you're actually, by taking away the tension in your respiratory system or around the respiratory system, it allows the air to come in more. It allows the circulation and the to come in more, and then the mucus to flow more easily. So that's a different way, a different perspective on flood the body with nutrients.
You could also, we can add to that, the flood the body with nutrients in the respiratory system is vitamin C. Vitamin C will help liquefy that mucus and help that mucus to flow better. So a great addition, if you wanted to add to that.
Red day.
Remember Ninja Red, vitamin C, the antioxidants, but extra vitamin C can be really helpful to keep the mucus flowing in the lungs.
Okay, and then if we're linking to the Wild Wellness program, we have an entire month on the respiratory system, so you could literally binge watch, and I'll pull out a couple of the most pertinent videos that kind of match what we talked about, and that's in the blog post. So
keeping it real.
all right, we'll see you tomorrow.